Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is comb. And before we start looking at some definitions, the first thing you might notice about this word is that the B at the end doesn't make a sound. Some people will call this a silent letter. So in case this word is new for you, and you might be wondering, is her pronunciation correct? We do not make a B sound when we say this word, comb. Now let's look at some definitions. The first and most common way you're going to hear the verb comb used is to mean to untangle or arrange hair by using a comb. A second way that's a bit connected to this first definition is to use something in the manner of a comb. So I'm going to have a little display here, or demonstration. As I move my fingers through my hair, I might say I'm combing my hair with my fingers. So that's the second definition, but perhaps less common than using a particular tool or comb. A third meaning for this word, and it might seem really unrelated to you, is to search carefully and systematically. So I have an example there, combed the woods. So here I'm talking about an outdoor space, someone who's going inch by inch, looking very carefully for something. Comb is a regular verb. To make the progressive form, all we need to do is add ing to make combing. The past tense and participle forms are made by adding ed. And because this word ends in a voiced M sound, comb, the ed is going to make a D sound, combed. Let's look at a few phrasal verbs with comb. The first phrasal verb you might hear or see when you're reading is comb for. And its meaning connects back to that third definition we were looking at. To search a place looking for something or for someone. Here it is in a sentence. I've combed the entire house for my keys, but they are not here. Another phrasal verb you might hear is to comb something out. And generally, this means that you're trying to remove something from the hair by drawing a comb through one's hair. Here it is in a sentence. Her mother combed the tangles out. The next set of phrasal verbs, comb out or comb through, could really have the same meaning. So we can, I'll give you an example of one and we'll change out comb through and you'll see the meaning won't change. And that meaning for this set of phrasal verbs is to combs one hair thoroughly. So another word for thoroughly, completely. Here it is in a sentence. They comb out their hair after every shower. I could say they comb through their hair after every shower. It's going to have the same meaning. And what I'm going to leave you with here in terms of phrasal verbs is that comb through could have another meaning, and that is to search with much effort in searching for something. So here's an example. I combed through many photo albums to find the old picture. Let's practice using comb in a few different verb tenses. Today, we're going to look at past progressive, present progressive, and present perfect progressive. First, let's look at past progressive. This verb tense tends to be used to describe something that was happening when another event interrupted that first ongoing action. The interrupting action tends to be presented in simple past tense. Okay? If I want to make a sentence in past progressive, I'm going to use the past tense form of be, was or were, and then I'll use the ing form of the verb. Here's an example of an affirmative or positive sentence. She was combing her hair when she heard a knock at the door. So was combing is that ongoing action, and then it gets interrupted with the action of hearing. Okay. If we want to make a sentence in negative past progressive, what we're going to do is insert not after our be. So here was not or were not, or we can use the contractions wasn't and weren't. Here is an example sentence. They weren't combing their child's hair enough to notice the gum. If we want to ask a yes or no question in the past progressive, we're going to move was or were to the beginning of the sentence, then we'll have our subject, and then the ing form of the verb. Here's an example sentence. Were crews combing the ocean for the missing fishermen? Let's look at present progressive next. With this verb tense, we're describing an action that is in progress or an action that's happening right now. To make this verb tense, we're going to use the present form of be, so am, is, or are, and then the ing form of the verb. Here is an affirmative sentence. While there are no professional sports right now, many sports writers are combing their archives to highlight past events. The word archives might be new for you. You might think of this just as a collection of documents. So in this case, past writers are going through their previous articles, previous stories, to be able to have something to discuss and share. If we want to make a sentence negative in the present progressive, we're just going to insert not after our be verb. So we can have contractions isn't or aren't, but we cannot have a contraction with am not. Here's an example sentence. When she isn't combing the internet for more news, she's playing games. If we want to make a question in present progressive, we're going to move our form of be to the front, then we'll have our subject, and then the ing form of the verb. Are thieves combing through vehicles at night? Lastly, let's talk about present perfect progressive. With this verb tense, we're talking about an action that started in the past and is continuing into the present. We tend to use this verb tense when we really want to stress the length of time that a particular activity has been ongoing. To make this verb tense, we're going to use have or has, then been, B-E-E-N, and then the ing form of the verb. Here's an affirmative example. They've been combing the files for the missing letter. If we want to make present perfect progressive negative, all we need to do is insert not after have or has. And we can always use contractions hasn't and haven't. Here's a negative example. He hasn't been combing his hair regularly. And if we want to make a yes or no question, we're going to move have or has to the beginning, then we'll have our subject, then the ing form of the verb. Here's an example. Have the detectives been combing through the evidence? Lastly, today, let's look at some words that are related to our verb or that utilize the same spelling. The first is the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation, a comb, which is a strip of plastic, metal, or wood with a row of narrow teeth used to untangle or arrange one's hair. Just so we're very clear, I brought a little example, right? So here are our very narrow teeth. That's a comb. Here it is in a sentence. Don't forget to pack your comb. Some students will ask, how do I know if the word is being used as a noun or as a verb? And we really have to use our context clue. So if we see another verb like pack, that's a good clue. If you see a comb or the comb or a red or small, large, you see a descriptive word, an adjective before the word comb, it's also another good clue that it's probably a noun. Another word you might hear or see is honeycomb. And this is a structure of hexagonal cells of wax made by bees to store honey and eggs. And I included a picture for you to understand what's referred to by honeycomb. I know the word hexagonal might seem a little odd. It's really talking about a six-sided shape. So if you look at the picture with the bees there and look at the very small, they're not quite circles, again, because they have six sides, but those little individual pieces there, you'll see that there are six sides to each word. Here's honeycomb in a sentence. As the hive grows, bees form honeycomb. The last word I'm going to leave you with today is an adjective. It's uncombed. And the prefix un or un is mainly going to mean not. So here we have not combed. And it sounds kind of just like its meaning, rather, is just like it sounds. Here it is in a sentence. In the photo, he is unshaven with uncombed hair. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Have a great day.